Hi everyone, and welcome to my video for day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival 2015. As I'm doing this, it's 8 o'clock on the Tuesday. Day 1 has just finished. We didn't have a bad start to these videos actually this week. We had obviously tipped up Duvan, who won the opener really easily. Then we got the Druid's Nephew in a really good price. I said I really fancied that one at about 8-1. That went in, and then we got, to be honest, we got very lucky on Glenn's Melody. I haven't heard any update on Annie Power, but I really hope she's okay. But no, it was all in all, there was some disappointments. Vibrato Valtat seemed to be a bit flat. I think he paid the price for trying to go with Undersoo and laying up there with the pace, and I think he got him in the end. And the new one, I want to watch this again, but I don't know if anyone saw it. He was jumping out to the right the whole way, and he just didn't look happy. Again, I think Sam Tristan Davis could have been a bit further back. Usually runs where Arctic Fire runs 3/4 of the way back and comes through late. Maybe would have been better doing that. But all in all, not a bad start. But anyway, we're on for day 3 today, and it starts with the JLT Novice Chase, which is very interesting. The likely favourite at the moment is, not surprisingly, trained by Willie Mullins. Anything trained by Willie Mullins is likely to go off favourite, really. But Vitor is, I think he's a worthy favourite. He's a class act. You saw it last year when he won at the festival. I think it was in the Supreme Novice, the opener, wasn't it? He was all class. You got the, well, up the hill like it wasn't even there, and everything was fine. He started his career chasing with a really good win. Next time out, there was something not right. I don't actually know what the official reason was given for it. But he made a really bad mistake 3 out, but to be fair to him, he still managed to rally for second, and then he said afterwards there was something not quite right. He then came out after that, jumped impeccably and won again, and I think he's another one. The further they go, he's clearly got an engine. He must have a great chance. The nearest one to him in the market is a horse for Paul Nicholls called Petite Zig, and this would have been my horse for this because he's been a course winner and a distance winner. Going seems fine and everything. However, I've watched it again, and in that Ascot Chase, that fall he had was awful. And I mean, literally, I can't believe the horse got up from it. Actually, I've also read an article afterwards saying he missed a week or so of work with I think some type of thing on his underside. That was 27 days ago. So to have an injury like that less than a month before the festival and then expect to come out in this type of company, it'll be an unbelievable performance by horse and trainer if this horse goes and wins. I keep going back to the one where Corto Star had his fall just a couple of weeks before the Gold Cup, and obviously was pulled up after 3 fences. I'm not saying this will do it, and you know what, maybe it wasn't too bad, but he's certainly got risks attached to him now. There's a talking horse in this race, and it's called Apache Stronghold from Ireland. People have been saying that, you know, he needs Cheltenham, and that's been the message for a while. He's very consistent. He's a solid performer. The ground holds no worries. He stays a trip as well, because his latest second was to Don Poley, who I actually fancy in the RSA tomorrow, and Don Poley's just an out-and-out stayer. He's a real stayer, so to get within that distance 2 runs ago was really good. He's very closely matched with the next horse I'm going to mention, which is called Volser Lido. Now, Volser Lido technically is held on hurdle form by Vitor, but he's been a much better chaser. But if you look at the form through Apache Stronghold, the 1-all now. Now, what puts one over the other for me? I've watched some video form, and Volser Lido last year in the Supreme Novice travelled really well, but as soon as he got to the hill, emptied, and you know what, it's 2 miles is up a hill's one thing, but he literally just emptied on the spot. So he would have to settle, I think, a lot better and have got a lot stronger, which he might have done, but that makes him a bit more of a risky proposition than Apache Stronghold. If you're looking for a couple of big price players, Splash of Ginge is a Group 3, or a Grade 3 course and distance winner on this going, but the problem is he's had, I think, 8 chase runs, and on 4 of them he's either fell, pulled up, or come last. He's an unbelievably risky prospect, because clearly if he decides it's not a going day, it ain't a going day. But you know, some people just want to have an each way punt on something big. He's a type of horse who could run it. However, I think a big price horse for me is the so-called second string for Paul Nicholls, Irish Saint. The reason I'm putting a question mark next to this is he has commented recently, Paul Nicholls, that he might leave this and go straight to Aintree. If he hasn't, I think he could be a good bet for Aintree. The reason I'm quite keen on this horse, Thomas Crapper, who ran a really good race off quite a heavy rating in the last handicap today, came 3rd, and with a better ride he probably would have come 2nd or a lot closer. But you know, he absolutely routed Thomas Crapper, Irish Saint. The ground and distance is fine. He's not far off top class without being there. If he puts it all in, he's around 14 to 1. Irish Saint could be a really good each way bet. but I've got to pick 3. I'm taking it Irish Saint, assuming he runs. My 1, 2, 3 for this is Vitor from Apache Stronghold and Irish Saint. The Pertemps final is always a bit of a lottery, this one, but I actually have a horse I quite strongly fancy, and the horse is called Dawalan for Nicky Henderson. Last year he was what I call, he was a hype horse last year. It was this immaculately bred flat horse. He was even 7-2 for the race he went for at the festival, ran no sort of race in midfield, over 2 mile. The making of this horse has been the step up and trip. Earlier this season he was a half a length second, be it was on the bridle to sign of a victory, who, okay, things haven't gone right for him since because of injuries, but he's highly well thought of. He then stepped him up to 2.5 mile, and Barry Geraghty, by his own admission at Haydock, gave him a really bad ride. He would have won, he actually said, if he actually kept going with the horse, because this horse, it's a real character. You've got to be careful. The next time out at Aintree I was actually there. Jump in the last, he was 4th, and I almost turned away thinking, oh, he hasn't got it, and then he stayed on again right down the outside and got up right towards the line, and clearly the step up and trip was needed. They then stepped him up in trip again at Musselburgh, and he won very, very easily. He's classy, he's starting to find his form, and the trip and find is going. The other thing to notice is this is a listed level. All of his runs this season have been at a listed level, and he's remained on a steady mark because he doesn't win dynamically, but he travels really well in his races. The favourite for this is actually a horse from Ireland called Adami, and technically, even on revised ratings, he holds this horse, and Dawalan around 12-1. I think that is a really, really solid bet. Call the Cops to Nicky Henderson is obviously coming to, because he was an easy winner of his handicap latest and could still be well in, but the fact is Nicky Henderson, I read a comment saying, oh, after this we'll actually have to now consider putting him in the Pertemps final. So I get the impression it was a bit of an afterthought, but still doesn't mean he wouldn't run a good race. Now, old Big Easy here for Philip Hobbs is a great horse. He loves big fields. You've seen it on the flat and the jumps, like even won the Cesarewitch on the flat. He's a course and distance winner, and he's actually on a good weight based on a course and distance second early this year to a horse called Ulzana's Raid, who I think he's actually injured now, which is a shame. And if you actually look at it, he just loves staying up the hill. The further he went, the better. He came a very close 4th recently to Regal Encore, but he has really waited to turn this around. Regal Encore should run a good race in his own right, but I think he could be better on a flat track. Now, this is a race for big prices. Trust and Times is interesting. He came 4th in this race last year and is on a similar mark. The reason he's on a similar mark, he went chasing, and he's just basically been getting absolutely hammered chasing, so therefore he's back over hurdles. He hasn't run over hurdles for a while. Though last time out, as soon as he went over hurdles, a lot better. He came 4th, but it was 4th to Dawalan, and he's still not waited to return the form on that, so that keeps Dawalan just ahead of me. But Trust and Times is a huge 25-1 price, so he could run a big race. Another one who I'm actually putting in the 3 here is Sybarite for Nigel Twiston Davis. He's got good form over course and distance and going in big fields, and if you watch it, you always think he's going to come nowhere, and he just keeps staying on and finds a couple too much for him. One of these days he's going to go in. It could be here, because I think he could go even faster than what he's used to on this cricket ground. He's fresh for this, he goes well fresh, and again he's about 25-1, and I think he could be a big price. It's a competitive race as always, but the 1, 2, 3 is Dawalan from Sybarite and Big Easy. The Ryanair Chase promises to be a really good race, and the horse that I really like here is called Don Cossack. He's been slated because he's had 1 run left-handed at here and didn't go particularly well, but by no means his trainer's own recognition, he's got stronger. All the time he's getting stronger, and he's been a stronger horse this year. He's beaten everything that's been put in front of him. Champagne Fever and him were having about to have a great tussle when Champagne Fever capsized last time, but I got the impression he was still travelling better. They were talking this horse up as a Gold Cup horse if Road to Riches didn't run, so they clearly think a lot of him. This year he has looked the real article. He's raced prominently and jumped well, he's held up and jumped well, he's got stamina and he stays. But going is a bit of, and left-handed technically could be, hold against him. But I read a thing recently talking about his recent schooling at Leopardstown. Leopardstown's a left-handed course, they've schooled him left-handed, and I'm sure if there was any issues with it, they would have picked up on it. That's my gut feeling. Marthaler and Boulder Success are 2 horses that are tied. Boulder Success obviously beat him and the Ascot Chase, but I think this course will actually suit Marthaler more, and he's a spring horse by Nicky Henderson's own admission. Boulder Success has tried twice and failed twice around this course. It does not seem to go at his best here, and he prefers a lot smaller field. But saying that, he's looked a lot more mature this year, but I still think Marfalo would turn the form around. Hidden Cyclone has picked this over the Queen Mother, which really disappointed me, because I think 2 miles in the Queen Mother would have been better for Hidden Cyclone. However, looking at it, I don't think there's a great deal of front runners possibly in this race, so Hidden Cyclone, who placed in this last year, could go well again. They've supplemented Foxrock over from Ireland, but an interesting note here, I think 2.5 mile, I'm sure, could be the whole thing could be happening a bit too fast for him, because he's been getting placed behind Carlingford Lock in the Irish Hennessy. The upside is he'll stay the trip, but he could put pressure on his jumping. In the 4 mile, I think it was last year, his jumping really didn't stand the test, and I've read a quote today from Ted Walsh from last year saying he didn't handle the course. Well, unless something staggering has happened in the last year, it's hard to think that he's going to handle the course again. John Spirit is obviously, it's a course and distance regular. He always runs well in the likes of the Paddy Power, etc. And ran a blinder, to be fair, in the King George. The one worry is, go on Racing Post and look at his spring record. It's terrible at spring. He seems to be won in the first half of the season. So I've got a watching brief next to him. And other watching brief as well comes in for Tackwinder Soil, who obviously won the JLT last year. He is a course and distance master. I've actually put a note down. He never seems to run a bad race over course and distance. He is inconsistent, so you have got that attached to it, but on a going day, he could really, really go well here. If you're looking for a horse at a really big price, have a look at Edward for Nicky Richards, sorry. Earlier on this season, he came second to Many Clouds, who then went on to win the Hennessy, then went on to win the Gold Cup Prep, and is actually second favourite for the Gold Cup now. He came second to Many Clouds, quite close over this distance, giving him £6, and now that's a hell of a performance. He then ran a good second to Wishful Thinking, and afterwards the trainer basically said he didn't seem to appreciate going right-handed. He's going back left-handed here. He goes on the ground, he goes well fresh. That horse is a massive price. I've just looked now, it's actually 25 to 1 in places. There's no way I can't not be looking at that, at least each way. It's a really good race, but my 1, 2, 3 I'm going for here is Don Cossack from, I'm actually going to put Edward in there, and Marfalo. The World Hurdle this year is absolutely wide open, and you know, Christ almighty, it's anything could win this. The horse I've come down on this year, rightly or wrongly, is Zarkanda for Paul Nicholls. The reason for this, he always runs a solid race at the course. Last year he just finished out the places, and I don't think this year's World Hurdle is possibly as good as last year's World Hurdle. Okay, big bucks, never up to his race, etc. Annie Power, I don't think she didn't, so I think she just met a real good horse on the day in more of that. And he only finished just outside the places, did Zarkanda. This year, I think he's going to be fresher. He won some races in France over the summer, but in terms of races in England, he's only actually run twice. He would have won the Long Walk Hurdle at Ascot, or even Sam Tristan Davis Smith afterwards. He got it completely wrong. He got the front too soon, wandered and got caught. But I think if you actually look at it, he's a stronger horse this year. He's a stronger stay. He's travelling better, and I think he's this is going to be his year, because he started young. Remember, over here, so he seems to have been around for ages, but he's still a young horse. He's getting into his prime now, and I think this is his time. Okay, Rev de Civilla, you've got to mention him because he's always a runner in this race. I think the ground's too fast for him. His Gold Cup, his World Hurdle as it would be, is that Long Walk at Ascot. Saphir Daru for Paul Nicholls. This is people trying to say this is another big bucks because he was a chaser that didn't work out, that's gone back over hurdles. Yes, he's won the Cleve Hurdle, and yes, Paul Nicholls said he had something more, but I think he's got to run a good race. But I just think the price, I would want a bigger price than like the 4 to 1 that's on offer based on one hurdle run. The horse I actually fancy ahead of him is a horse Saphir Daru beat in the Cleve Hurdle, and that is called Un Temps pour Tout for David Pipe. He was only just behind a race-fit Saphir Daru in that Cleve Hurdle, and it was his first run since May. He got gambled in until he was favourite, and Tom Scudamore, I'm reading a quote here saying he travelled well but just blew up at the bottom of the hill before running on again. He'll no doubt strip fitter for it. He's actually got form on the ground, so I think he could actually turn the form around with Saphir Daru on there. That's my feeling, and I think the bigger field will help him switch off. He didn't switch off particularly well, but that could have also been because it was his first run, and I think he could improve past it. Monksland, you've got to mention, as he's been very, very consistent all year. Though technically he's held on his form line by Lieutenant Colonel. The Lieutenant Colonel holds Monksland and also another one in this field, Jetson. He seems to love the step up to 3 mile on his latest trip, and he could be a danger of handling this step up in class. Nothing against Jetson, I don't think Jetson is this type of class on his day, and Monksland might fall slightly short of it, but Lieutenant Colonel, I think he'll run a really good race for you. Wisp is interesting because he loves the course and better going. The problem, I can't weigh this horse up, he's 8 to 1. He's only had one start this year and it was a really bad chase run. So now he's going in the World Hurdle. Is he another Saphir Daru where it's like, oh, he's going to be a chaser, oh, it hasn't worked out, let's go back over there. He's only had one run, so I suppose fitness has to be taken on it. He could run a good run, a good race, but I'd want bigger than 8 to 1, to be honest with you, because I really don't know, you know, how to weigh him up really. Cole Harden didn't get up the hill in the Cleve, and it's a big ask to say he's going to go and do it again. This is wide open. From a 1-2, I've gone for Zarkandra and Untempor 2, and I was tossing up between Lieutenant Colonel and Saphir Daru for the 3rd place, and for the 3rd I'm actually putting in Saphir Daru. Nothing against Lieutenant Colonel, but Saphir has actually done it over the course before. The 5th race is the 2 mile 5 handicap chase. I think it used to be called the Burn Group Plate. Now this is a real nightmare in terms of handicap. I'm going to start towards the head of the market, Monitor. He had a solid course debut on his first start for David Pike. He was unsighted and nearly fell at the first, and then took a while to warm up to his task. He then stayed on pretty well into 4th, but it wasn't a great debut. However, on the back of that, he then came out and hammered a really good yardstick called Solar Impulse for Paul Nicholls. They've kept him fresh for this, and on the mark he's on, I think he could be absolutely thrown in, but he could not be. The Pipe Yard have done something similar with a horse called Salute Flow in the same colours, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in recent years, so you've got to pay attention to that horse. Bywise is a course and distance specialist and actually came 5th in the Paddy Power this year. I don't think he got a particularly good ride. I've watched it again. He's actually now weighted to reverse form with a horse on the same rating of him called, who I'm going to mention next, Cab de Burley. Cab de Burley won the Paddy Power but has been woefully inconsistent since then, and I think actually Bywise will turn around form with Cab de Burley if it was to be run on a literal turn. However, at a huge price, and I think it's an insulting price, and okay, I've got a soft spot for the horse, I've tipped him up twice on these videos. I've done 1 year he won, 1 year he got placed, and that is Huntball. He's obviously a course and distance winner. You've got to ignore his last 4th, that where he came, it was 4th of 4 at Ascot, because, or whatever it was, he came at Ascot, it was really bad, because it was his 4th run in 7 weeks, including a race over the Grand National fences, so they clearly hammered him at the early part of the season. I think the reason he did it, Nicky Henderson's always said he's a nightmare to train, so clearly they just wanted to get a load of runs into him to get him ready. They've now kept him fit, but if you look earlier in the season, he was a course and distance 2nd to Splash of Ginge, who could run a decent race. I think it was, and yeah, he was giving him a stone in weight, so that was actually a cracking performance. Last year he came 4th in the Ryanair Chase, which I think the Ryanair Chase is obviously better than the Burn Group handicap. Yes, he's got top weight, but 20, and I'm noticing even places 25 to 1 Huntball. That is a really good price, that one. The second is the Splash of Ginge. He actually finished ahead of Cab de Burley. So, okay, Cab de Burley's technically weighted to reverse it a bit on that, but I can't be having Cab de Burley at like 10, 12 to 1 and him at 25. It just doesn't make much sense at the moment. Another monstrous price is a horse coming over from Ireland, and I hope it runs, called Burn and Turn. You've got to ignore his last run. It was in 2014, because I had a look back, it was actually his 9th run in 2014, so clearly the horse had had enough. But go back into the middle of that campaign, he actually came 2nd in the Galway Plate to Road to Riches, who's obviously fancied for the Gold Cup, on good going, so the going's ideal. This is a lot less competitive, and if he's ready to go, Burn and Turn 25 to 1 could be a really, really big price. It's an impossible race virtually to pick a 1, 2, 3, but I'm going to go for it because it's the type of thing you've got to do, and I'm going to go for Monitor because I think he could be thrown in to beat Huntball and I'll have to stick Bywise in there because he never seems to run a bad race over there. But Burn and Turn, keep an eye out for that one. The last race is the Kinmure, and it's my least favourite race of the entire festival, along with the Martin Pipe conditional jockeys doing. They call it the Gold, one of the Gold Cups for amateurs. This, it's 3 mile 2, but it's a complete and utter nightmare, to be honest with you, so I won't spend long on it. The main horse I'm going to mention, he's actually market leader, is Gallant Oscar, because it's Tony Martin again, so he could be potentially anything. If you look at the race he's been running in, last year he unseated, went doing okay in the Irish Grand National, and last time out he was actually favourite when beaten, get me wrong, hammered by Jack Adam, and Jack Adam's actually considered all outside of the Gold Cup. This ain't the Gold Cup, so you'd have to put in this pretty poor race Gallant Oscar in there. An old favourite of mine who never seems to run, well, he does run a bad race, that's a lie, but he seems to be going well, is the Package. He's got a really nice weight and he goes well fresh. Last year he turned up after nearly a year off and got placed. He could have even been in this race. He's got a course and distance form. The going seems to be fine, but at his age, is he getting any better? If there's an improver in there, it will beat him, but you've got to put a word in because he's 25 to 1, the Package. Vintage Star standing out to me purely because Nina Carberry's been booked on it, but the horse seems woefully out of form and he's run over the course before and been terrible. So unless they know something and that's why they booked Nina, you know, maybe they do, but I still can't have that even though it's that. Just a Par's an interesting one for Paul Nicholls because he booked Will Biddick, who's obviously a really good claimer. He hated the Grand National fences in the Beecher Chase. He just didn't take a cut at them and they pulled or didn't want to know. But his course and distance fourth on New Year's Day is quite solid, and he's actually now got an £11 pull with Masters Hill, which brings them pretty close on his next run because Masters Hill, this was at Exeter. I think that race was suiting Masters Hill because it was small field and he got to hunt along, but technically they brought in line. But both of the Masters Hill and then the course and distance one was a worry. They've never seemed to go particularly, they've done alright but not major around the course and distance. Another horse to mention is Ben Benz for Nigel Twiston Davis. He's got decent course and distance form, but he's run so many races already. He's run, off the top of my head, I know he won, I think it was either in the Beecher Chase or the Grand Sefton at Aintree. He then went in the Welsh Grand National and run a decent race. He then went in, I think it was the Classic Chase at Warwick and all these. He's got so many miles on the clock, so that would be a huge worry at this time of year. It's a race to literally put pennies on if you're going to do anything. But my 1, 2, 3, if I was going to pick it, is Gallant Oscar from the Package. And Masters Hill, it was a decent win last time against some quite fancied horses, so if he can hold his form again, you'd have to put Masters Hill on it. Obviously day 3, because of the charity race, has only got those 6 races in it, so fingers crossed you've actually got something from this. As always, post anything that you guys are doing, and tomorrow, I'm going to wait till tomorrow, which is the Wednesday, to do day 4, because by then we'll have a much better picture of who's likely to run and who's not, and therefore hopefully talk about horses that will actually run. Okay, good luck for the Wednesday. If you haven't seen him, a Wednesday video is posted, and yeah, fingers crossed for another good day. Take care and I'll see you soon.